Good morning, dears. Today we are going to make a beef meat stock. So my other video that was a stock was a chicken stock. This one's going to be a beef stock. So the most different is going to be the timing, obviously what type of bones and meat we're putting in, but also how long it takes to cook it. A chicken meat stock takes about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. If you remember, if you saw the other video, a beef meat stock is going to take a little bit longer, 3 to 4 hours simmering on the stove. But again, meat stock is different from bone broth. Bone broth is fantastic, but it is different from meat stock. Meat stock is cooked short term, 3 to 4 hours. Bone broth is cooked 24, 48, maybe longer. And the difference is not just in the cooking time, but also what it has in it. A short cooked meat stock is going to have a couple of amino acids, proline and glycine in particular, that are essential for healing and sealing the gut lining. And if you are cooking it for like a bone broth or the longer period of time, you're going to lose those amino acids. So if you are struggling with any autoimmune disorders, or if you have gut issues, IBS, leaky gut, anything like that, you're going to want to start with the meat stock. The short cooked is going to have the protein and the glycine in it. It's also a rich source of collagen and biotin and elastin, collagen, gelatin. So all that is going to be in here. So when you're doing a meat stock, you want to have things that are close to the bone. So you want bony, meaty cuts with bone, close to the bone. And if you have anything with marrow in it, that's good. If you have any joint bones, that's good. I don't have any knuckle bones, that would be fantastic. But what I have here today, I have oxtail pieces. So there's meat around the tail, and then there's the bone in there. So we're gonna pop those in. And I also have some soup bones. So there's lots of meat here, you can see, but there's also a bone. And if you can see, there's some marrow right in here. We want to keep that. That's fantastic. So we're going to keep all of that. And then I have just some soup bones. There's not a whole lot of meat here, but there's lots of marrow in these bones. These are things that the dog would like, but we want the nutrition. So we're going to keep all of that. So between the marrow bones and the oxtail and the soup bones with all the meat, that's going to be fantastic. So we're gonna put all of this in. And then again, just like the chicken stock, I need to wash my hands. With the chicken stock, it's pretty much the same thing. We're gonna put in a couple tablespoons of our mineral salt. This is the Redmond's salt. It has lots of good minerals in it. I'm gonna put in 2 tablespoons because I like mine salty. I might add more if I want, upon taste. And we're going to put in some whole peppercorns, which will get strained out. So if you do have gut issues, you can have the flavor of the peppercorns, but you don't want the actual pepper pieces in your gut, especially if you have something like diverticulitis or something like that. So just I don't know, half a tablespoon. That's going to go in. And then of course our bay leaves, which are so good. And I like bay, so we're gonna put in a handful, and I have a ton of them, so I can be generous with them. So then we're just gonna cover this to about 1 inch or 2 above the bones. We're gonna put it on the stove. We're gonna bring it to a boil and then put it down to a simmer. And then we will simmer it for 3 to 4 hours. The meat should be falling off the bones. The marrow should be easy to scoop out, or should be falling out of the marrow bones, and it should be really good. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I have decent well water, so I can go straight from the tap. If you don't, or if you have city water, again, please use filtered water. You could also put in a splash of apple cider vinegar. I might do that as well. Typically the apple cider vinegar you would definitely put in for a bone broth to help pull out the minerals. But for a short cooked, it's not as important for me. I'll probably splash some in anyway. There we go. Okay, now it goes on the stove. Okay, here the beef stock has been simmering for about 3 hours and it's good. I checked the marrow bones, the marrow is falling out and the meat is good and coming off the bones here. So it's falling apart. This marrow bone, I already knocked all the marrow out of here. Look at that. All that marrow is in the broth now. This is some of the marrow that fell out. Beautiful. All right, so we're gonna turn this off and let it cool a little bit. I'll pull out the meat and the bones and we'll let it cool. So the broth has, the stock rather, the stock has cooked. The meat is mostly cooled. Elizabeth pulled it out for us. You can see the meat from the oxtail bones is nice and tender, and from the soup bones is nice and tender. And it's so good. Oh my goodness. So what we're gonna do before we jar everything is we're gonna take the marrow bones and we're gonna pop the marrow that hasn't fallen back into the stock. You really wanna keep all that. Make sure all my bay leaves are out. I think she got all my bay leaves out already. Okay. So you can just pour this right into your jars. I would like my marrow to not be in chunks like this. So I'm going to use my brand new handy dandy stick blender that my husband got for me and blend this up before I pour it. I think that's good. All right. Last time I tried to pour straight from the stock pot into the jars, I made a huge mess. So I'm gonna dip. And we'll see how much we get. So, here we go. Beautiful. And there you have it. I'm going to use the meat this evening. I'm going to pull all the meat off and we're going to use that for a stroganoff. Or if you want, you can throw it right back in the stock and use it for a soup or whatever you want. But there you have beef meat stock.